Hey everyone, my name is Wedge. Don't worry, there will be more preview coverage later today, but I've been fiddling around with a Pauper deck for a while and I just have to get it off my chest. I need to bring you in on the most hilarious deck in the format that can win on turn 1. For those who don't know, Pauper is a format where you can only use cards that have been printed as commons, so you can imagine how ridiculous this format can get. Anyways, you're going to love this. Now the video is sponsored directly by TCGplayer.com, so you'll see the price of each card as we talk about it. This is Pauper, so the price of the deck isn't going to be like $500. We're talking Pauper here. If you want to see the deck list, first link in the description. Without further ado, enjoy everything that is One Land Spy. Yay. Pauper is a fast-growing format that most players are falling in love with the second they get a chance to play, as they should because it's great. In case you haven't seen a Pauper deck tech before, here's one right here that we did. And here's another, so convenient. Right, let's get right into this deck. Instead of doing what we usually do where we go over lands and then go up the curve, let's talk about how you win. This card is your all-star, Haunting Misery from Weatherlight. Updated text reads, as an additional cost to cast Haunting Misery, exile X creature cards from your graveyard. It deals X damage to target player. You exile X creature cards, you deal that much damage. Pretty simple. So how are you going to get a bunch of creatures in your graveyard to exile? Let me explain. Balustrade Spy is going to mill your entire library. Now you may be asking, but Wedge, the card says it mills from the top of your library until you reveal a land card. What happens when you get to a land? Well, my good friend, you won't. You're running a single forest. That's the only land in the deck. Next question, how do you get the one forest before you play the spy? The deck runs 4 land grant and 1 Wirewood Guardian. Land grant in hand means you reveal your hand, go grab your forest for free, and play it. Great card. If you can't 2-mana forest cycling, the Guardian performs the same function. Alright, recap. We kill our opponent using Haunting Misery. We enable that card by using Balustrade Spy to mill our entire deck that won't have any lands in it. How are we going to get the mana for this? Welcome to the rest of the deck. The entirety of the rest of the deck is about generating mana. Oh yeah, things are about to get nuts. We're running playsets of Lotus Petal, Cabal Ritual, Dark Ritual, Manamorphose, spells that help us color fix and gain on our mana. We're also running mana creatures, Simian Spirit Guide, Tinderwall, and Wild Cantor, all playsets. It's important that we can get ourselves off the ground since we have no lands. Simian Spirit Guide, Lotus Petal, and Tinderwall are our best ways to do that initially. Now obviously we need Balustrade Spy to actually get all this going. 2 Dimir Houseguard are in the deck so we can transmute for the Spy if we need to. We're also running 4 Street Wraith and 4 Gitaxian Probes as free cycle effects. These 8 cards help us burn through our deck faster, making sure we get the pieces we need to go off. Remember, we need Balustrade Spy and Haunting Misery to win this game, along with the mana to cast them. Seems like a tall order, right? We have contingencies for this. We're playing 4 Conjurer's Bauble. The only purpose of this card is to draw a card from our graveyard after we mill ourselves. If we don't have the Misery in hand, we can still use Balustrade Spy, mill ourselves, then sacrifice the Bauble and put Misery back into our library. Because it's the only card in our library, we draw it. Let's say we don't have the luxury of the Bauble on the battlefield. We have a backup plan. We're running 2 Morgue Theft. From the graveyard, you can flash this card back to bring back our one of Anarchist. You play the Anarchist and bring back Haunting Misery to win the game. The last big piece to this puzzle. Hey Wedge, it sounds like you're going to need a lot of mana to do all this in one turn. Say hello to the last card in the deck. Full playset, Songs of the Damned. Add 1 black mana to your mana pool for each creature card in your graveyard. Even if you don't have the mana to cast Morgue Theft and Anarchist and Haunting Misery after you mill yourself, you just need 1 black mana and Songs of the Damned will refuel you nicely, giving you more than enough mana to do everything we just went over. Of course, you'll need a Lotus Petal or one of your mana creatures for that red mana, but beyond that, you got this. I know I threw a lot at you at once, so let's go step by step. The goal of this deck is to deal 20 damage instantly with Haunting Misery. You use Land Grant to grab your 1 forest. You use a mana creature like Tinderwall, Lotus Petal, and Ritual spells to play Balustrade Spy, milling your entire library. You need Songs of the Damned to give you all the mana you need, Morgue Theft your Anarchist your Haunting Misery, and win. The deck runs 24 creatures, so as long as you have at least 20 of them in the yard when you use the Misery, you should be good. Of course, there's always a risk due to gain lands and such, but hey, we're trying to win turn 1 here. Speaking of, let's talk about how you do that. If you're going to win on turn 1, you need a hand that looks like this. You play Land Grant, grab your Forest, or you could just have Forest naturally, that works too. Then Wild Cantor or Lotus Petal, a couple of Dark Rituals, Balustrade Spy, Songs of the Damned, and then either Conjurer's Bauble or Haunting Misery. You cast Grant to play your Forest, play Wild Cantor, sacrifice it for black mana, cast 2 Dark Rituals. That gives you 5 black mana, use 4 of that to cast the Balustrade Spy, use the remaining 1 to cast Songs of the Damned, and then use the Bauble to recur the Haunting Misery, or just use the Misery straight away. Tons of damage, more than enough to kill any opponent on turn 1, before they can even do a thing about it. This deck is beautiful. I know what you're thinking, the deck seems unreliable. Yeah, it does, that's because it's a combo deck in Pauper, what'd you expect? It definitely isn't going to win every single game you play with it, but I'm telling you, this strategy has the potential to sneak out a victory against any deck in the format. With all your cycling cards and contingencies, there are plenty of ways for the deck to win. It's hilariously easy to win on turn 2 out of nowhere from just one good draw. Just get 3 mana sources, a ramp spell, your Forest, Spy, Songs of the Damned, and enjoy. Trust me, it's way more fun to play than you think. If you think it's fun to play, it's more fun than that. Yeah. Now the sideboard of the deck is arguably even more ridiculous than the main deck if you decide to take it in that direction. There's an entire other combo you can sideboard into if the deck you're against has a bunch of life gain in it and your Misery isn't enough to kill them. Go on this journey with me for a second. So you go through your normal shenanigans and mill yourself out. Use Songs of the Damned, cast Morgue Theft, targeting Pitkeeper. Cast your second copy of Theft on Blood Celebrant. Play both of those creatures, use Pitkeeper's trigger to target Cavern Harpy. Use the Celebrant for blue mana, cast the Harpy, returning the Keeper to your hand, cast the Keeper again, this time targeting Mnemonic Wall, cast the Wall, return Songs of the Damned to your hand, cast Songs of the Damned again, return the Harpy to your hand, cast the Harpy, return the Keeper, cast the Keeper, get back Grey Merchant of Asphodel, cast Grey Merchant, and drain for 6. Once you've done that, you can keep bouncing the Harpy to bring back the Wall to bring back Songs of the Damned for more mana, or you can bounce Grey Merchant to burn your opponent, keep yourself alive, and win the game. I can imagine this was confusing, but that really was the best way I could have explained that. The combo takes a bit of work to get used to, but if your main deck is up against something that gains life, this is going to need to be your backup plan. Now that combo only takes up 5 spots in your sideboard. You're only running one of each of those creatures. The rest of your sideboard should be to insulate yourself from disruption and annoyances. Duress is a key card. At least 2 spots are necessary. Gotta mess with disruption against you since it's pretty easy to mess with your stuff. Past that, Ingot Chewer is perfect against Affinity. Pyroblast against blue decks, super important. I like using the hidden tech of Repopulate against Graveyard Hate Shenanigans. Serene Heart is nice against enchantment decks like Bogles, Electrickery is amazing against tokens or aggro decks, and Flaring Pain is sweet tech for anyone with weird damage prevention stupidity. As you can see, you have a lot of cards to work with out of the sideboards. Go nuts. This may have been one of the more complicated deck techs we've done in the past, but come on, you have to admit this deck is hilarious. It's like the Pauper version of Oops All Spells. You have to respect that at least a little bit, right? I mean, seriously, this is the most fun I've had playing Pauper in a long time. If combos are your thing, this is much less dirty than anything Peregrine Drake is doing. You can feel proud to pull this off and everyone around you will love you more for it. Okay, that's probably not true, but you can pretend it is, and that's what's important, your happiness. Anyways, what do you all think about the deck? Do you like it? Don't like it? What kind of deck techs would you like to see in the future? Always looking for your suggestions. I've been hearing rumblings for Canadian Highlander, so we could explore that. Who knows? You all decide. And remember, if you like this deck and want to look at the list or buy any of the pieces for it, click on the first link in the description. Helps out the channel, and the prices are cheaper than anywhere else. That's just a fact. Enjoy. As always, subscribe for the latest and most reliable Magic the Gathering information you could ever need. This is the Mana Source. I'm Wedge. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Wow.